Scanning. Identity confirmed. Signal acquired. Initiating transmission. Stand by. Contacting Imperial High Council. Initiating Project Storytime.
Greetings, members of the Imperial High Council, and today we continue our look at Star Trek Enterprise. We start with Hoshi looking at a slug. She picked it up on some random planet, and it's not doing very well, so Phlox is treating it. Yes, Enterprise encountered its first planet with life on it, but why would we as the audience find that interesting? Moving on! After the opening titles, Archer's in his cabin complaining that he hears a squeaking sound. T'Pol arrives to give him a briefing during the latest findings, while Archer is literally on the floor on his hands and knees like a crazy person. Archer asks T'Pol if the Vulcans ever found anything worthwhile to explore in this region, and T'Pol says that Vulcans don't select their destinations based on whatever piques their interests.
Vulcans always need a logical and pragmatic reason.
Yes, how dare people with the limited resources of a spaceship not just go off to whatever shiny thing they might find? That's when Hoshi arrives and asks to change her quarters since the stars are going the wrong way. Archer looks confused, and I can't say I blame him. Anyway, he agrees. Meanwhile, Reed and Travis are working on the weapon systems, but they just can't seem to get it right.
All this should have been dealt with before we left Earth.
Yes, you should have. After they delivered Clang back home, the ship should have returned to Earth and get it in tip-top shape. This is why it was idiotic for Starfleet to say, you may not have full supplies or fully functional weapon systems, but we don't see why that would be a concern while you're in the great unknown. Be sure to pick up a random slug. Have fun! Archer wants an update on the weapons and decides that Enterprise needs some target practice. He tells the bridge to drop out of warp and then they'll find something for him to blow up. Yeehaw! They find an asteroid field and the weapons test doesn't go well. One misses the target completely and the other just barely grazes the target and swings back towards the ship before Reed is able to detonate the torpedo. Reed says that he needs to recalibrate the targeting systems and that will take about a day to do that. Archer tells the helm to resume course, and when Reed protests, Archer says something stupid.
We're not going to sit on our butt for 24 hours. Make your modifications, we'll run another test first chance we get.
You don't have to. Scan the asteroid field or try to collect some soil samples from them. You could meet with your department heads. I can't imagine that you stopped off on an alien world and the only thing you took was a slug. Plant samples or other forms of life or soil analysis. I don't know, but you don't have to do nothing while Reed just needs 1 day to get the weapon systems fully operational. Next we get a scene with Trip and Phlox eating in the galley, and it does two things. Reveals that the crew is feeling antsy about not having much to do lately, even though it's just been a few weeks since Clang and they've been to at least one planet, but whatever. It also reminds us that the alien Dr. Phlox is an alien.
If I'm not mistaken, they are preparing to mate. Do you think they might let me watch?
Moving on. On the bridge, T'Pol finds a ship on long-range scanners. Archer and Trip are eager to take a look, but T'Pol gives them her resting bitch face, and we move on. Enterprise arrives, and the alien ship is dead in space. It's not responding to hails, but Archer doesn't let that stop him. This is humans' first contact in space with another species. This is a monumental moment in human history. Good thing Archer didn't prepare a speech for this historic moment and just kind of wings it. Before they get any response, he has Hoshi send them information on Earth and how to find it. He knows nothing about these people, and he's giving them his home address. I guess Archer isn't one for stranger danger. It doesn't matter anyway, as there continues to be no response. They take notice of some hull breaches, and T'Pol scans the ship and finds it has a nitrogen-methane atmosphere. She also finds that the hull breaches have oxidation in deep space. How? In order to have oxidation, don't you need to have, I don't know, oxygen? Scans hit at weapons fire, so Archer decides to go aboard. He, Reed, and Hoshi are going on the away mission. Because that's the place for senior officers, we just keep this crew on hand for ballast. Archer then makes a log entry so he can bitch at DePaul, who was acting very weird on the bridge. But she just came down with a case of lazy writing. She'll get over it soon. Archer gives Porthos some cheese. That's when Hoshi arrives and tells Archer that she doesn't want to go on the mission, because due to the non-oxygen atmosphere, she'll need to wear the spacesuit, and she's claustrophobic. Wow, being claustrophobic on a spacesuit must be hell for you, Hoshi. Archer then offers cheese to Hoshi just like he did with his dog. What a guy. He tells her that he needs her on this mission, and she needs to learn to deal with it. He shows genuine concern, and in all honesty, for the first time in this show, I see a glimmer of the captain that Archer should have been for this series. Sadly, moments like this are few and far between in the early seasons. Reed is getting out the heavy weapons, but Archer says we just need the phase pistols. The shuttle docks with the ship, and Reed can't find a way to access the hatch, and is prepared to blow it up. Archer then grabs the handle that's clearly right there. I get that Reed is the tactical officer and that weapons are his job and all that, but dude, calm down. They search the ship and find green inhuman blood dripping down the walls. As they continue the search, they find a strange pumping object. That's when they find dozens of dead aliens strung up and being pumped for their juices. Hoshi screams, and it's pretty embarrassing. I'm not saying that it can't be a gut reaction, but she completely folds under the pressure. They head back to Enterprise. Archer doesn't know what is being drained from these people, but he guesses that whoever did this to them will be back. DePaul advises that they leave. Archer is indignant at the thought of leaving 15 dead people behind, but agrees that they should go. I want to be clear on this. My issue isn't that they leave. My problem is how this is structured. If they had stayed on board and tried to get some answers while prepared to leave at a moment's notice, I'd have a different take. However, they left immediately, so the correct course of action is to leave. Here is what you know. You know that those people on that ship are dead. You can't do anything for them. You know they're being drained of some of their fluids. You know that you have a ship that doesn't have a fully functional weapons system. And you know that whoever did this have weapons that disabled this alien vessel. What you don't know is that whatever fluid they're being drained of has a human equivalent. You don't know if your ship can take on the ship that did this. As captain, it is your responsibility to see to the welfare of your ship and crew. And frankly, the lives of your crew and the safety of your ship is worth far more than the indignities being suffered by 15 people that are already dead. Under all these conditions, leaving is the only option.
Your intentions were admirable, Captain. But nothing can be done for that crew now, and if we remain here, your crew could be put in jeopardy.
This is why she's the logical one. Archer tells the bridge to resume their previous course, and they leave. Good. Well, that was kind of a sad episode, but it was short, so... Wait, what? There's more? Why? They did the only logical thing that could be done! Are they gonna do something stupid? They're gonna do something stupid, aren't they? Fox tries to comfort Hoshi that there is no shame in feeling disturbed at seeing dead people. But Hoshi correctly points out that she screamed like a little kid, and that's not the best thing to do when you are representing Earth's finest. Anyway, they continue to treat the slug that's a clear metaphor for Hoshi's subplot. Being on the ship is killing the slug. It needs to adapt or it will die. Do you get it? Do you get it? Hoshi's like the slug. Did you get that? Archer, Trip, and T'Pol are having dinner. Man, there sure is a lot of eating on this show. Anyway, T'Pol points out that there is a stellar nebula nearby. Taking a closer look might be a wise thing to do. After all, the crew was getting restless, and this might relieve some of that stress. And this also demonstrates that T'Pol is thinking about Archer's love of exploration while being considerate of the crew's morale. Too bad Archer's just kind of a jerk. Archer plays the what-if game.
What if they were Vulcans?
Then she would have been able to look up the ship registry number, contact the Vulcan High Command, and gotten the fleet out there to retrieve them. Next question. Archer continues the insane rant that if they were Vulcans, they would have contacted their families. T'Pol points out that they have no idea where they even came from.
We didn't even try.
That's why it should have been handled while you were still on board, you dumbass. Archer then yells at Trip with a what if they were human scenario, but Trip wasn't even there. What do you expect him to have done about it, Archer?
So we should avoid confrontation at any cost. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, dear Lord. No, he's not saying that, but there's this tiny little detail of, you don't have functional weapons. You know what happens when a rowboat goes against a battleship? It loses. Have all your brains liquefied and pooled into that chin of yours? Think, man. But Captain crawls on his own floor, turns the ship around because humans have a code of behavior. And that's apparently to risk our entire ship and crew for a scrap pile of cadavers. This time, Archer, Hoshi, Phlox, and Trip all head over to the alien vessel. Trip gets the comm system back up with Hoshi to translate, and Archer gets Phlox over to figure out what is being done to them. While Reed is on Enterprise working with the weapons, Phlox discovers that the aliens are being drained of a substance that's very similar to human adrenaline. Hoshi and Trip get the ship to send out a distress signal, and that's when the guys who did this come back. Dun dun dun. This ship is far superior to Enterprise. The away team heads back to the ship, but the Enterprise gets fired upon, so they can't leave. Reed tries to fire back, but it doesn't do anything. The crew gets scanned, and the aliens want some of that adrenaline. Congratulations, Captain! These aliens want to suck out the juices of your entire crew, and if you're very, very lucky, they won't search your logs to discover where Earth is. That was well worth the risk for 15 dead people. Another ship enters the fray, and it's the same aliens that they discovered on board the other vessel. Hoshi is having a hard time translating the language, the one that she only heard a few hours ago. Man, you have high standards, Archer. She tries to tell them that it was the other ship that did it, and after some back and forth, the guy gets it and attacks the other ship. Reed gets the targeting scanners aligned, and finally, after all that anticipation, Reed fires off his long, smooth shaft. It explodes, and it's a little underwhelming. We've all been there. But the other ship does most of the damage and blows them up. So Archer finally gets to have a first contact mission with the people that saved his skin. Hoshi and Phlox go down on some other planet and drop the slug off, because taking an animal species out of its natural habitat and placing it where it has no natural predators always does wonders for the native ecology. This episode has a trope rating of 3. 2 points for not 1, but 2 aliens of the week that we'll never see again. Yes, the Axanar are mentioned several times throughout Star Trek, but this is their only on-screen appearance. It also gets 1 point for dumb luck survival, as if it wasn't for the Axanar ship arriving just when it did, our heroes would have been drained of all their juices. Okay, the good. Linda Park. She really had to carry this episode, and that's a tough thing to do so early on in the show's production. She likely barely knew her character, and had a nice, simple arc. I also like the look of the dead alien ship set. Very creepy. The bad is pretty much everything else. I don't like it when Star Trek has a captain that they portray as being right just because they're the captain. I find it frustrating when there's a clear option and it's not even addressed or thought about until much later. It doesn't make it look like the captain is exploring all sides, it makes him look like a doofus. Something they could have done was to have Archer show real leadership. When they find the bodies, have him contact Enterprise and have Phlox and Trip sent over so Phlox can figure out what's being done to these people, and Trip so that they can get the comm system back online. And he sends Reed back to Enterprise and tells him to get those weapons working because they might need them soon. While he's waiting for all that to happen, he talks to Hoshi, calms her down, builds her up, and tells her to focus on the job. He needs her to learn this language soon so that they can send a message to their homeworld. All the pieces of the story that they have would then fall back into the place as it is in the episode, but without making Archer look stupid. This episode could have been far more solid if they had just taken the opportunities that were right there. You can still have the main focus be on Hoshi, that's fine, but not at the cost of making your lead look like an idiot. Countless ways could have been done to achieve this, but they chose the lazy route. Computer, save file, and end transmission.
Affirmative. Processing. Terminating transmission. Ending communication.